Aaron Donald, are they poised to have a bounce-back season? Didn't make the playoffs last year. Next year, they'll have 7 teams. So if there were 7 teams this year, technically they would have made it.
Well, first of all, they won 9 games. So are they much better than a 9-win team? I don't know. A bounce-back season to the levels of the year before? The running back that they drafted in the second round is very good. But whether or not he can be Todd Gurley is another question. They were, killing him with play action with Todd Gurley a couple of years ago, and maybe the league caught up. But they're not like a 13-win team on paper to me. Could they win an extra game and make the playoffs? Yeah, it's possible. But the NFC West is the best division in football, and that's the division in which they're competing. The worst team in the division on paper got a lot better, especially considering the quarterback's going to be ascending. And the top 2 teams are juggernauts, both capable of winning a Super Bowl right now. So the Rams bounce back, not to the previous season, but maybe a 10-win team, maybe the playoffs. Even that, I think the odds are not in their favor.
Of course it's not in their favor. It's no bounce back. As far as I'm concerned, the 49ers and the Seahawks are better teams in the NFC West. It's not to say that the Los Angeles Rams can't do things. Aaron Donald's the real deal. Their defense is not that real. Offensively speaking, Todd Gurley is gone because he didn't have that great of a year. He played in about 15 games, still didn't have 1,000 yards, averaged about 3.8 yards per carry. I believe in the brother, but I also believe that he's been hobbled. He's been far from 100%, and I think that showed itself. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, obviously your 1,000-yard receivers. They can do some things. We get all of that. Jared Goff, however, threw 16 interceptions, only completed about 62% of his passes. There have been speculation as to why he was guaranteed $110 million. So Sean McVay's got some things to prove and got some things to get together, and we understand that. But I think that it's really not a matter of whether or not they're a decent enough team. Are they capable of having a bounce back year? Sure. Do we predict that they will? In order to predict that, you have to assume they're going to have a better season than Seattle. They're going to have a better season than the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't think that when you look at both of those teams, particularly on both sides of the ball, that you look at the Rams as being a superior team. So I would think it's more of the same. Another 9-7 season. It wasn't enough to get the Rams to the playoffs last year. I don't know whether it'll be enough to get them to the playoffs this year, but I doubt it. I see San Francisco and Seattle are the 2 teams in the NFC West to look out for, not the Rams.
I mean, I have to agree with these guys, and I hate it because I love Sean McVay. I think Aaron Donald, from a positional player standpoint, has the largest gap between himself and the second best player, whether you think that's Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox, or any of those guys, because Aaron Donald is that dominant. Jalen Ramsey is about to be the highest paid corner in the league. I think you look at Jones and Rapp at the safety position, they can be good defensively, but not great. You guys had mentioned Cam Akers. Cam Akers is a do-it-all type of back, a smaller back than Todd Gurley, can make some plays. But Mikel Roby-Coleman said something about Carson Wentz that I found very interesting. He talked about Carson Wentz's leadership and the fact that he takes ownership of the team. And whether this is a low bar to set for a quarterback or this is the bar that was set by your previous quarterback, he said, I was shocked that Carson Wentz knew my name. If that is what you leave the Rams with, or leave from the Rams, and think that as long as a quarterback can learn my name, he's actually trying to be a leader of a team. That's not a good look for Jared Goff. Jared Goff regressed last year because the play action game regressed, because the offensive line wasn't as good as it was the previous year, because Todd Gurley was hurt. What's to say that that run game comes back? And now when you put more on Jared Goff's shoulder, can Sean McVay find ways to scheme up things to get him open passes? I don't think this is a bounce back year. I think this is a year that's much of the same. And now you look at the Cardinals getting better. Obviously, Seattle and San Francisco being 2 of the dominant teams in the NFC. You also throw in Tampa Bay in there. Now you have the Atlanta Falcons, I think, ascending in the NFC South as well. There's too many good teams in the NFC to think that the Rams end up back on top of it. I believe they had a very small window. They didn't capitalize on that window. You give Jared Goff 110, and I think you continue to take step backwards. This team is about a 9-7 team again to me.
And they gave Todd Gurley a lot of money. That turned out to be a mistake. But I want to say one thing about running backs here. When you have a guy, I know running backs are easily replaceable because you bring up Cam Akers and he should be very good. But when you have a guy like Gurley, who's special, like in his prime, there's some guys who had short careers, abbreviated careers, but the contemporaries audience who watched them are like, no, that dude was. Gurley was so excellent.
Terrell Davis.
Even the Super Bowl season where they made it right, exactly, where they made it to the Super Bowl, because he was physically compromised toward the end of the season, the Rams stopped being the Rams, really, right? Like, that was not quite the team we'd seen until then. And when he was full strength and McVay could really put him to use, the Rams looked like the Chiefs look now, right? So one thing about running backs is, yes, they're fungible and all that stuff, but when you got a special one, someone like McVay, he can use that running back to make the quarterback look all world, to make the offense look all world. That guy's gone. And it's really tough to replace a prime Todd Gurley, an uninjured like prime Todd Gurley. So what was special about the Rams to me is not there anymore.
Bottom line is he ain't the head coach of running backs. He's the head coach of the football team. And so it's his job to find a way to work around it. Cooper Kupp's not a scrub. Robert Woods is not a scrub. Tyler Higbee can play a little bit. Let's see what Cam Akers has going for him. But Sean McVay was considered a boy genius, not because of the running ability or catching ability of Todd Gurley. It was his play calling. It was his play calling that was applauded and lauded ad nauseum. You know, he's the guy that should have been the coach of the Redskins because he was with the Redskins, under their previous coach and what have you, under Gruden. So this is the kind of stuff that was being said about him. I understand that Todd Gurley is a stud when healthy, but the reality is this is the National Football League. The one thing you can consistently assume without delay is that somebody's going to get hurt. That's just how it goes. And so you've got to find a way to work around that. That's why you get Todd Gurley ain't the reason you gave Jared Goff $110 million in guaranteed dollars. That's because of Jared Goff. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.